Crota's End is returning for year 3 in Age of Triumph, and perhaps it's been a little while since you completed this raid, or maybe this is an entirely new experience for you, so today I figured we'd cover the basics of the Crota's End raid. So before we get going, it's worth mentioning that some mechanics are likely to change or be built upon in the year 3 version of Crota's End, but in general Bungie do not want to make the raids completely unrecognizable, so having an understanding of the basics in each encounter is going to be very valuable. So starting out, we have the Abyss. After you've jumped down into the stills area, you are going to want to make your way from lamp to lamp until you reach the end section of the encounter. When you're in the Abyss, you'll receive a debuff called Weight of Darkness, which slows your movement speed and ability to jump, and this can stack up to 10 times over time until eventually your movement speed will be incredibly slow. Standing next to the lamps in the Abyss will slowly reduce and eventually remove the Weight of Darkness debuff, the idea being that you move to one lamp, wait until Weight of Darkness is removed, and then push to the next lamp and repeat the process. Of course, over time, Weight of Darkness will return, so as you approach each lamp you will be slowing down due to the debuff. Also note that once a lamp is activated, a timer will start, and before long that lamp will explode, which of course can kill you, so you'll need to stick close together, activate lamps, and then move on pretty quickly once you've lost the Weight of Darkness. Of course, there are a ton of thralls in this encounter, so as you move you'll need to clear the path ahead as well as the enemies which are chasing behind. Super abilities in general, but particularly tethers and stormcallers, will be extremely useful if things get out of hand as you move through the Abyss. The route that you take through the encounter is fairly self-explanatory, since you'll just follow the lamps until you eventually arrive at the top, where you'll need to hold down the plate to form the bridge into the second encounter. You'll want to get the whole team onto the plate, and a good setup for dealing with this section as a team is to pop 2 defender bubbles, one at the front left and right of the plate to act as a shield for the team, but also to generate orbs because super spam is ultra effective in this area. Firing a tether around the area in front of the plate, then using stormcallers or exotic swords to clear around the plate is also super effective, and you'll generate so many orbs that a lot of your work can be done with supers. There are a massive amount of adds which will attack. On top of this, ogres will start spawning in the back behind other adds, so it's worth having a couple of snipers and Galahorns for those, but overall if you hold your ground and rotate your supers, this is pretty easy. Once you've held the plate down for a couple of moments, the bridge will form and you can push over to the other side and move on to the next encounter. Up next we have the bridge encounter. Before we go any further, in the recent trailer for Age of Triumph we saw a glimpse of a new addition to this encounter in the form of 10 hive statues lining the staircase out of the room. Now this will most likely mean that tomb husk style relics will have to be brought across the bridge in order to activate the statues and open the door. To put speculation aside though, you're almost certainly going to have to hold the plates to complete this encounter, so I'll explain how it currently works, and knowing this will definitely prove valuable. So when you come into this room, on the first side you'll have one Annihilator totem on the left and one on the right, with a plate to form the bridge in the center. In order to hold the bridge plate, there will need to be at least one person on each of the totems, as they will enrage if they're left unattended while you form the bridge. In general, to begin with, you want 2 people on each totem and then 2 on the middle plate so that the bridge can form. In order to cross the bridge, you'll need to have a sword relic. After you begin holding the plate for a second, a sword bearer will spawn in the middle room at the back and make his way down to you. As the bridge is forming, you'll need to weaken the knight and then take him down as or when the bridge is formed, which will drop a sword that the first player can use to cross the bridge. In my team, I go across first right here, and once you're across, you'll find a gatekeeper which you'll need to kill with the sword. These are entirely invincible to normal weapons, and one will spawn every time you kill a sword bearer on the other side. The player crossing at the time will need to take him out when they arrive. You'll also need to stay alive while your team works on getting more players across, so it's likely worth sending a Sunsinger or Defender Titan first for survivability. Back on the first side though, we now have 5 players, and one of the players holding down a totem will need to rotate to the center plate to hold the bridge and help the second player across. Bear in mind that you'll still need at least 1 player on each totem for this to work. Once the second player has crossed though, you'll have to repeat the process until you have 3 players on the other side of the bridge. At this point we can start controlling the bridge from this side. So I'm on the left totem right here, we have a player on the right totem, and one holding the bridge plate in the middle. Teammates on the first side can now step off and focus on getting swords to cross over as quickly as possible. You'll still have invincible gatekeepers spawning on the second side, so a combination of jumping and using blinding grenades if possible will make him less of a threat. Either way, you can now get the whole team across, and once this happens, you no longer need to hold the plates down. At this point, you need to kill the adds coming from left, right, and center, until finally an ogre will spawn from the far left and right, and once these have been taken down, you will clear the encounter. Like I said, there are going to be some changes here, but since so few people really understand this encounter, knowing this stuff will be beneficial. The next area is lovingly known as the Thrallway, and here you'll need to essentially take down the first Shrieker to remove a glass barrier, and then a second Shrieker behind it to clear the way. At the very end of this hallway there is a chest room, the doors of which are on a timer, so you'll likely want to send 2 fast titans in front as the rest of the team clears the Shriekers. As long as one teammate makes it to the room, the doors will reopen, allowing everybody else in. Once you've grabbed the chest and you're ready, you can jump down into the next area, the Ear Yut Deathsinger encounter. This is a fairly simple yet dangerous encounter. To outline the basics, when you enter the room, a wizard will spawn on the left side and the right side, which you'll need to take out. Once the wizard is down, a Shrieker will spawn on each side next to the glass window, which you'll need to take down again to gain access to the crystal room. Inside of the room, this is where you'll fight Ear Yut. The encounter is time-based, so after around a minute, the Deathsinger will start to sing, and the objective is essentially to kill her before she can destroy your team with the song. So for our team right now, we send 2 people immediately left and the rest of the team to the right side. Us 2 on left will kill the wizard on spawn and then take down the Shrieker and immediately rotate back around to the other side with our teammates. On the right side, the other teammates will repeat the same process, but then immediately assault the acolytes, thralls and boomers in the room with stormcallers and dark drinkers. While all of this is happening, a tether on the crystal will help us DPS Ear Yut with supers, Galahorns and exotic swords, but on top of killing the Deathsinger, you'll need to take care of some of the adds around the crystal room and on the outside ledges to get this cleared. Of course, in this gameplay, she's fairly easy to take down. We're running this right here at around 170 light, so she will be a bit tankier in the Year 3 version, but the strategy will essentially be the same. I'd say that it's worth getting good at clearing this fast, since this will be one of the challenge modes, and it's pretty likely that part of the challenge is to kill her before she starts singing. Either way, we can now move on to the Crota encounter. The basics here are that you need to kill a sword bearer, have a sword runner grab the sword, and then the rest of the team down Crota so your sword runner can do DPS. You will also have some boomers in the left and right towers which will need to be addressed, and I'll talk about how my team does this. Before that though, in the Crota encounter, you cannot regenerate your health over time, so to counter this, things like Red Death are pretty solid, or helmets with perks like Better Already, which regen health on orb pickups. Now I'll explain how my team run this encounter. We're currently using multiple sword bearers in preparation for a possible challenge mode, but for now let's not confuse what's important. Let's look at the sword bearer's job. When your team heads out, your sword runner is going to want to push up to the sword bearer who spawns in the center pit right here. Once your team is ready, with some help, you'll want to take the sword bearer down, grab the sword, and then move to the rocks on either side of Crota so that you can jump up and do damage. Crota will aggro on you when you do this, so if you can go invisible as a hunter, then that will definitely help. Once you're positioned though, you can call for your team to down Crota, at which point you'll jump up and do your damage. Being invisible will help here again because it'll allow you to get a little bit closer to Crota and do your DPS as early as possible, which also leaves you more time to get out of the encounter. But if timed well, you will be able to get 3 heavy sword attacks on Crota, and then you'll have to back out pretty quickly as Crota will stand up again. After this, you essentially repeat the process for a second kneel before your sword runs out and disappears. In this particular gameplay, I'm not using full heavy attacks because we're intentionally not killing him to get some practice, but these are more or less the basics of sword bearing. If you want further guidance on sword bearing, I recommend that you check out Dato's video, which I'll link in the description below. For the rest of the team though, I strongly recommend that you get practice killing the boomers and the wizards in the towers as opposed to using the old bubble aggro strat. I'll explain how my team does it. So when we head out, we have 2 players go left and 2 go right into the towers, and then our sword runner and his helper who go into the middle pit. We run shutdown supers and shotguns for this, but essentially we have 2 on each side, jump up into the tower and Nova Bomb or smash the Knight boomers, and then we'll use the remaining super on the wizard that spawns immediately after the Knights go down. During this time, our sword runner is waiting for our call to say the wizards are down, at which point he'll grab the sword, and then all of our guys in the tower will move back onto the platform area. As we're moving back, our sword runner will call for us to down Crota. We do our 2 kneels of damage and then rotate back inside to the crystal area. If you run this strat, you'll find that just as you're coming out of the second kneel, the boomers up top are respawning, so be aware of those as you move back inside. Also, Crota will rotate left and right between DPS rounds, but while we're in the crystal room waiting for Crota to rotate to the center, we have some downtime where we can carefully put a few sniper shots into the Knights which have respawned up top, just to get them weak for when we need to head out again. Before long, Crota will head back to the center and you can repeat the process. Just to mention, you can do all of this without killing the boomers in the towers. This used to be a popular strategy, but I don't personally like the RNG approach to encounters. I think it's better to get good at dealing with them as opposed to leaving them up and hoping that they don't cause an issue. That of course is up to you though. Moving on, after the second sword has been used or Crota reaches less than half health, you will have ogres spawn from the bottom of the left and right towers. To deal with this, we head to the bottom of the right tower after our second sword and jump up on the door frames and wait for the first ogre. He'll spawn below you, so a combination of supers and heavies will deal with him fairly quickly. Once he's down though, you'll have a line of sight to the second ogre as he's leaving the opposing tower. Take him down carefully and then head out on the staircase immediately to the left and quickly push back into the crystal room. There will be thralls and exploders, so you want to be pretty careful here. From here on out though, you essentially repeat your damage phases as you did before, except if Crota is below half health, you will need to repeat the ogre phase every time you do DPS. And that pretty much comprises the basic elements of Crota's End, guys. There's a lot to take in one video, and there are even more skills and team strats that you can develop to complete this. Again, some things will be changed a little bit with the update, but most of what we've looked at is likely to remain pretty critical, so it's worth having a good understanding of it. For now though, if any of you guys have tips of your own, I'd love to see them in the comment section below. If you have enjoyed the video, a like as always is appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit subscribe if you want to see more Destiny content. For now though, thanks for watching, and you guys have an awesome day.